What is happening, YouTube? It's Hayes Anderson, October 7th, 2024. We're doing a video diary for the creation of a track for the Synth Kumite Halloween edition from Synth Samurai. I have no idea what this track is going to be yet, other than it's going to be kind of like a Halloween-y kind of track, which I don't know, kind of dark and mean sounding or something like that. Maybe a bit of a playful element to it. All I know is I have the movie that I'm going to be centering these themes all around. So by the time that you see this video, since this is going to be a video diary, we'll have already produced most of the track, uploaded versions that we've streamed to Twitch, as well as probably have some kind of a version on YouTube. And I presume this is eventually going to go to Bandcamp finally. And since I don't have really any other, 9 other tracks to go with it, it probably will be a track sitting out there by itself. I probably will only have it sitting out there temporarily, just for the event. So grab it while you can when it happens. That's probably the only time I'm going to announce that. Over here is the micro station. I'm getting this ready for Noisevember. I was not able to jump in for Beattober, unfortunately, but that's okay. Maybe next year. This year we're definitely going to focus on Noisevember, and we'll leave it at that for now. But as I said before, the only thing that I have kind of set up is I've got some samples from the movie that I'm going to work on, which is They Live. And ready to go. So that's where we are right now. Blank slate. We really don't have any musical ideas. Tempo. I think I might try to do something in kind of like a swing, kind of like the triplet feel, because that is how the theme for the music from the movie They Live kind of starts out, and how it is. It kind of has that blues kind of shuffle feel to it. So I may try to incorporate that, but maybe not much more, because I really don't want to do a blues sort of chord structure. I want to do something that's a bit more darker, of course, and we'll go from there. So let's see what happens. It is now October 8th on a Tuesday. I have not made very much progress towards the Kumite Halloween Jam. What I have done instead is I just wrapped up a micro jam over here. I have only performed one take, and I'm just going to go with that. And the reason is because when you're dealing with these Bassel and some of these other kind of similar stuff, like the Road over here and the Oletron, and even the Korg vocal modular, for example, it can be very, very difficult to recreate what you're doing. So sometimes if I just kind of get through it and I'm pretty satisfied with it, I just roll with it, because, it's kind of ancillary background stuff anyways. But that's what I've done so far. I may get to work some more on the actual Kumite Halloween Jam. We'll see. It is October 10th. I've actually made some progress on the Kumite Halloween track. I'm not going to go into that right now. Right now we're talking about the micro station. I just moved this power strip that's on the ground now. You really can't see. I moved that. It used to be back here. It is now on the ground, as you can see, and I've replaced it with my 2 custom power banks that I made. They supply 9 volts, and these are all center positive that are coming out. There's also, as you see on the side here, I've got a USB. I'm sorry, not that side. Over here is the USB. There's a USB jack over here as well, but it doesn't work for whatever reason. I probably should look into it. Everything else seems to be working, so I'm okay. I'm just going to flush this against the other one, not use that jack, DC jack, on this box. Right now, there's a power cable coming out of this box, and it is powering this little native mixer. And the way that this works is I have a number of cables that I made. These are center positive, and then these over here are center negative. So that way, whatever I need, I can just provide. Now, the issue will be ground loops. The first thing I need to worry about is whether or not I can power this mixer on the same power bricks I'm going to be using to power different devices. For example, this little guy right here, which happens to be center positive. So with one hand, perhaps I can plug this in like so, and then we can pick a port. Not easy to do with one hand. And yeah, now we got power. But again, the question will be ground loops, because these all share the same ground.
Whereas when you use something like this power brick here, you're going to get an isolated ground. So the whole point of this little video, this little thing right here, is to just talk about ground loops just real briefly and generally, and to just sort of propose that the start of a ground loop is the power source that it's coming from, and not being able to get an isolated ground from that power source. So when you can do that, you can get rid of the ground loops. So it's a compromise, being able to power everything up, because as you may have seen from the other micro jams, it was a spaghetti mess back here. So hopefully things will be more clear and cleaned up so I can put more things of interest, more pedals, more devices, more noisemakers, like this awesome Rumble of Ancient Times. It is now October 15th. I have made some progress on the Halloween Kumite jam. I'm going to work on it a little bit more tonight, perhaps. Actually, no, I'm not going to work on it more tonight. I'm going to work on a micro jam tonight. That's what we're doing. So I'm getting ready to record this. I've got some idea what this is going to be. By the time you see this video, you'll already know what this jam is. It is now October 17th in the morning. I have made some more progress towards my Kumite Halloween track. Let's see, I did not stream last night, and that's okay. I took a night off. I worked on my Xbox all day yesterday, so let's go take a quick look at it. I have spent the past 3 days recapping my second Xbox. This is a 1.4 motherboard. I'm about to reassemble it and test it, and wish me luck. It is still October 17th. It is evening time. I am going to stream on Twitch now and put this together one more time and just kind of see what happens. I've got more of a structure for the second part now. I don't really have a transition to get to the second part. In other news, the Xbox has been recapped and it works successfully. It is Monday, October 21st. We had a successful Twitch stream last night. Went through the material. I've got some more ideas on what to do with everything next. I'm not sure if I mentioned the Volca kick last time, but I did add the Volca kick at some point. But for right now, I've decided to swap it out and put the Volca drum in instead, because I figure I can get a really close proximity to whatever kick drum sound I can get out of the kick. Not quite, but what I need I can get. And I can also add like a really strong snare drum if I need as well. I find that ever so often I will need to add another snare drum on top of the layer just to kind of really make sure that you can really hear the beat. And this way also ensures that you can also hear the kick drum. I'm probably not going to work on the jam much today. What I am going to start working on though, however, is maybe getting back to some pocket operators. Been a long time since I visited them. I've got the robot and the bass, the sub. So I'm going to work on a quick pocket operator jam. As you can see, I have the chord bot out here. Everything works great. I can control the Selena with the chord bot now. It is now Wednesday, October 23rd. My, how time flies. I'm going to discuss powering up the studio. And to help, I have a multimeter set up on a current clamp in which I can register how many amps I'm going to be running. It's upside down right now, and we're going to have to do some decibel conversion, but don't worry about that for right now. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start the first stage of powering things up. Hard to get to, but it's right here. And this powers almost everything up. If you notice, the pyramid is not on. None of the devices that like this are on, which includes the Delta Sep A. So let's go ahead and take a look, though, at how much current we're drawing. Right now, it says we're drawing, it says 16, like 17. We're upside down, of course, so that really means 1.7, 1.6 point something. So almost 2 amps right now. So I'm going to start by powering this little guy up and this little guy up. And the reason why I do that is because I don't want to hit mixers with pops and loud clicks and everything as I'm powering things up. So the mixer stays off for now. Then I power the Delta Sep. And a new addition, the Korg Volca drum. We can see if there's any change in our amps. And yeah, we're up to 1.72 now, so just a little bit more. So now I'm going to move over here to the micro jam station. And all I need to do to turn everything on here is just hit the switch. I used to keep this mixer powered off separately, so I would turn that mixer on next. But I don't like the way that the switch moves in and out. It's kind of sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. So I'm going to leave it on for now. So let's go ahead and check. And we're still about 1.7, not bad. Now I can go ahead and turn on the pyramid. And I use a USB switch over here to do that. Long story short, just because I don't want to keep using the switch on the back of this thing. And I also power this up last so that the Bluetooth MIDI works properly. Now that all of that is working, I can power up the rack down below. And there's a mixer down there that is included in all of that. We can go ahead and start powering up these two devices. We are at 2 amps now. Interesting. And finally, we can power up the big mixer. And we should be roughly at right now 2.6 amps. Not so bad. So we'll say 2.7 for now. And then, of course, I load the next sequence on the pyramid and start checking levels. I've also got a monitoring situation down here. And that's it. Let's get back to work. It is now October 27th, the day of the Halloween Kumite. I was able to wrap up a YouTube version 13 minutes long yesterday. Didn't really film a whole lot in the past few days. I got really busy. Streamed on Wednesday. Really did some tightening up on the pyramid of the sequences. And over here on the mixer, getting the sounds tweaked in. Did all of that on Friday. Did another stream on Friday. And then yesterday, Saturday, the 26th, I spent most of the day just trying to record that jam. And it took 2 takes and about 7 false starts, though. And it took a total of maybe like 5 or 6 hours just to get that done. Because of technical difficulties, having to stop, pull the cameras out, get all the information off of them, make sure that this little guy was charged up because the battery's getting kind of old on it. This, by the way, is the Hero camera, my GoPro. I've had it for a long time, and this is the headset that I was using for it. That was a pretty difficult jam to do. I wish that I was able to do more of those because they're kind of fun. It's more fun to watch, more engaging, surely, but it's just a lot of stress to pull off. So today I'm going to edit down something to about 5-6 minutes long, and let's see how that works out. My next task is to take these files and to go through them, cull out the good parts, and stitch together something like Frankenstein's monster. This file, and let's see, this file are the takes that I was able to capture from yesterday's attempts. The other files are all streams from Twitch, and they are roughly about 30 minutes to an hour long each. I found another one, the first one that I started out with. So I'm going to go through these today over the next 5 hours and try to stitch together some of the best parts and put together a 5-minute version. I'm in the process of editing this file, and I wanted to point something out. What you're looking at now is a point that I want to edit, but it's hard to see like the exact transient that I'm looking for. Even if I zoom in, it's really hard to tell where that transient is. I can listen as much as I want to, but it's going to be very hard to pinpoint that. If I switch, however, to spectrogram view, now all of a sudden we see, oh look, here is the actual transient point that I'm looking for. I just wanted to point this out. I hope it helps. When I switch back to waveform view, I know now that I'm going to be right where I need to be. So when I do my actual edit, it's going to come out smooth and you're not even going to hear it. And I'm almost finished. We're in about the 6-minute mark right now. I'm going to try to cut out where I can. I'm just going to go back over and listen to it one more time and see if I can cut out anything that I don't need. I basically went with most of take 1, which is what is not on YouTube, and I pulled in some of take 2 where, you know, I got into trouble with take 1. I ended up not using anything from any of the Twitch streams because they're just too long and I don't have enough time to go through it. Would have been a lot better. I feel like I could have pulled out some pretty interesting parts, but really at the end of the day, everything revolves around the samples, and as long as I'm representing like those quotes in a good way, that's all that really matters. The Halloween Kumite is now over. It's time to reset all the synthesizers, pull the patch cables, reset the mixer. But before I do that, I wanted to talk about what I have set up first. So to do that, we're going to start off with the Squirt Pyramid. And this is where all the sequences are contained, and I can also control all of the synthesizers, drum machines, and samplers from here. So up first is the K2. Next is the Delta Sepe. Then there is the Wasp. And those three all handle the bass duties. Then there's the Pro 1. And the Cat. And when we move over to the TT303, I have everything muted because let's talk about this first. This is routing into, first of all, into the Jackson Audio Silvertone Twin 12, and then I'm going into the Wrought Iron Effects Sting. And I'm using the same power supply for all three effects, and you shouldn't do that. So we get this wonderful noise. And that finally is going into the Bell Epoch for delay. And the idea is that I keep this muted so you can't hear the noise, but here is the TT303. Nice and grimy. So I'm going to mute that to suppress the noise for now. And moving on, we have the Volca drum, the RD08, the RD9, and the TT77. Then we have the Micro Granny, and that covers all of the synthesizers, drum machines, and samplers. So moving on, for final effects, I was using a looper for the drums, another looper for the main mix, going into ping pong delay. Talking about more effects, so I have 6 major effects set up. So for this, I'm going to use my voice to demonstrate. And the first one is the polyphrase delay. And I can activate that like this. And this is a stereo delay with trackable individual size. And the repeats on these can go almost indefinitely. Really nice delay. Next is the excuse me, wrong one. Next is the Strymon Deco, and this is a very hard effect to describe. It is a tape tracker saturator, so you can get some very neat effects by basically having a dual, and it's treated like it's another tape copy of your source, and then you can move the tape head away. Really cool. Then we also have the CXM Reverb. This thing is awesome. It's like a cathedral church reverb, and it can definitely ring forever. But we won't do that now. And then this is the Dreadbox Hypnosis, which is an awesome sci-fi sounding effect. And this can store presets. This has a chorus flanger, delay, and spring reverb, and it's all analog. And then also have the Zoom G1 on, and it's currently set up with a dual phase to a stereo delay and to particle reverb. And this is the B1 on, Big Muff, which is not on yet, going into a limiter, into a delay, into basically an ensemble, which is a stereo chorus. And this is with the Big Muff. Pretty gnarly. Very gnarly. So that covers the effects. Let's move on to the Haze Expander. So for this, I had the Synthotech Chaos Nan going into the 1047. And I'm controlling the filter cutoff and resonance with 2 separate LFOs. Then also have
the two oscillators going into the 1005, but the output is going into the neutron, so that's controlled by the VCA. So I can open that up, and I can control one of the oscillators, the pitch that is, with this knob, which is going through a CV quantizer. And then I can change the rate of the LFO, change the gate. Then there was the subharmonicon, which is just a simple, kind of like a sunrise. Then the Erica Sense Pico System 3, and that is going into the Plankton Electronic Spice, so I will apply the dry signal first. And this is an old patch that I put together for January 2023, day 16. And what I like about this is that when I change the bucket gate delay time, it starts getting into bit crushing. And this is all analog, if I am correct. So I find that infinitely fascinating. And then I've also got actual digital bit crushing with the Spice. Before we move on to the micro jam station, this is the rack beneath the big mixer. And I was routing the Wasp through this Warm Audio Warm Chorus vibrato pedal. This thing is really cool. It is a clone of the Boss CE1, I believe, from the 1970s, which is roughly a $700-800 pedal. Moving on now to the micro station. I had the Micro Granny going into the Montreal Assembly Count 5, and this thing is a really cool pedal. I was not using any of the string synthesizers, but I was, of course, using the S2400.
You look like your head fell on the cheese dip back in 1957.
And I have 4 banks of samples going, and I have so many going that the only way that I could really keep track was to write them on this board up here. Well, that pretty much covers everything for this song. I want to thank the Synth Samurai for putting this together, and everybody who participated. What this leaves next is we have the Micro Jam Station open. Noisevember is around the corner, as is January. Thanks again to the Synth Samurai for hosting the Synth Halloween Kumite, and we'll see you next month for Noisevember.